Here was the headline in a newspaper this week. Reid and Senate Democrats will block Zika funding again, which means, the article explained, there will be no further avenues to pass a funding bill to combat Zika for the rest of the summer. Democrats used to say that Zika was an imminent threat. Now they're threatening to extend the filibuster of the funding we need to fight Zika and protect women's health. Why? It seems clear enough. They think dysfunction works well for them politically, so they're trying to manufacture some regardless of who gets hurt in the process. They've tried to muddy the issue with extraneous arguments and half-truths, but they just don't stand up to serious scrutiny. Let's examine a few of the things they've said about this conference, this compromise conference report. Our Democratic friends pretend it would underfund Zika. Actually, it contains the exact $1.1 billion funding they just voted for last month. Democrats pretend it contains partisan offsets. Actually, the offsets have bipartisan buy-in. 2 of the 3 offsets have explicit bipartisan support. The third takes unspent money that was set aside for health care in the territories but cannot be used, and actually uses those funds for, get this, health care in the territories. Democrats pretend the compromise conference report would weaken clean water protections. Actually, it temporarily, just temporarily, waives a duplicative paperwork provision that Democrats themselves call, quote, unnecessary for the protection of our environment and, quote, a waste of taxpayer dollars. This temporary provision would only apply to pesticides already approved by the EPA, and it represents the only real way to commence with the kind of anti-mosquito efforts we need. Efforts the EPA director herself assures us are not only safe, but perhaps the most important tool we can use right now, as the vaccine takes a period of time to develop. Democrats also pretend the compromise conference report would prohibit funding or deny access for birth control. Actually, it provides more resources for health care, including preventive care, than the Zika bill Democrats voted for just last month. This compromise bill directs those health care dollars to the very places you'd expect, like hospitals, public health departments, community health centers, and Medicaid. Democrats are now upset because a political supporter doesn't get a special carve-out. So they're demanding an earmark for this partisan group as the cost of ending their attack on women's health and their blockade of anti-Zika funding. Of course, Democrats would like us all to ignore the fact that the very same partisan campaign organization would not have been able to access these Medicaid funds in the president's Zika request either. So it's hard to decide which of these excuses is the most disingenuous. Maybe it's the false claim that this bill cuts funding for veterans. It actually increases veterans funding to record levels, by the way, just as Democrats are pushing a partisan proposal to provide political cover on Zika that actually would leave veterans funding behind. So look, I think we get this. Democrats have a partisan interest in blocking critical anti-Zika funding. That's what's going on here. But Americans are asking them to please just put politics aside for once and think of the national interest. Does anyone seriously believe pregnant mothers care about manufactured squabbles over offsets and earmarks and duplicative paperwork? They want Washington to kill mosquitoes, and they want them to do it now. They want to see a vaccine developed, and quickly. They want to see their unborn babies protected from devastating virus that can have lifetime consequences. What they don't want to see, what they're not interested in observing, is one more manufactured partisan excuse from our colleagues over here on the other side. To quote the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, quote, "Mosquitoes don't care about the budget process," end quote. She's right. So, Mr. President, the time for games is over. This is our chance to pass anti-Zika funding. And there's only one way to do it. vote yes on the compromised Zika control and Veterans Conference report before us and send it on down to the President.